This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, an historic day for Grand Bahama as the Cabinet of the country held a special meeting here today. It is the second time the Cabinet has met outside of the nation's capital. Natalie Martinborough has our top story.
Members of the Cabinet began arriving on Grand Bahama on Monday. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie the first to touch down for the historic meeting. Other members of the Cabinet followed on Tuesday morning, arriving on several flights. This would be the second time in Bahamian history the Cabinet of the Bahamas would meet outside of New Providence. Shortly after 10:30 Tuesday morning, Cabinet members began filing into the conference room of the Ministry of Grand Bahama for the Cabinet meeting in the Harold de Gregory complex on East Mall Drive. The Cabinet's agenda included discussions on the future growth and development of the Grand Bahama economy within the context of the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement, Tax Exemption Amendment Bill 2015, tabled in Parliament on Wednesday, July 22, 2015. Also during that meeting, the Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet were able to engage in high-level dialogue and negotiations with the executives of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Hutchison Whampoa, and the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement Review Committee. The Cabinet meeting wrapped up shortly after 3 p.m. and the Prime Minister and party then headed to the Grand Lucayan Resort, where the nation's leader gave members of the press some insight on some of the projects to come on stream on Grand Bahama within the next several weeks. Natalie Martinborough, ZNS Network News.
Now, the nation's leader giving an overview of the government's plan to spur economic growth while outlining some projects to come on stream in the north. During the press conference, Prime Minister Perry Christie noted that it was important to engage representatives of the Port Authority and Hutchison Whampoa in a discussion as to the sustainability of the city of Freeport.
The Bahamian people would know that we retained international consultants to undertake a study of the economic situation within the port area, and also appointed a committee to review and make recommendations with respect to the impending expiration of such concessions. And for the committee, we tasked them with the additional burden of recommending other measures that may be taken to promote and sustain further economic activity in Freeport and Grand Bahama.
He says with the imminent expiration of the concessions under the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement, the opportunity is here to spur economic growth on the island of Grand Bahama.
As Prime Minister, I would wish to reiterate that the 6-month extension is necessary to enable a detailed analysis and further consultation, particularly and specifically to create a platform or a foundation for Grand Bahama to have a better opportunity to realize its full potential and in the national interest of all Bahamians.
Christie says he understands the challenges of Grand Bahama and his government has made strenuous efforts to attract local and foreign direct investment.
The intention of the government through its capital works was to foster new construction particularly of an infrastructural nature that would bring about new employment and hopefully linkages that would cause additional employment.
The nation's leader said he is pleased that his government is reopening the fire station in 8 Mile Rock. He adds that the high school for West Grand Bahama, the new Fishing Hole Road Causeway, and the seawall for Smiths Point projects are all out to tender. He noted that the government has made a deep commitment to Grand Bahama's economic recovery.
This relationship has served the Bahamas well in many areas, and I think we all recognize that the times have changed, and that in the time that has passed since the original vision was executed for the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement, it is for this generation of Bahamians and investors to make the necessary adaptation to become much more relevant players and much more meaningful contributors to the economy of the Bahamas.
He says the cabinet has also reviewed the performance and impact of the following: the Blue Diamond Memories Resort, which is reporting good bookings, Sunwing flights that will begin with their direct flights and winter program from 7 cities, renovations at the Lighthouse Point property, which will add another 200 rooms, MSC's confirmation of creating a maritime training school for Bahamians, among many other ongoing projects. Well, also during that press conference, several contracts were awarded for infrastructural work in the northern Bahamas. Among them, contracts for a proposed storage facility at the new C.A. Smith complex that was built by the National Insurance Board and opened in 2012. Minister responsible for national insurance, the Honorable Shane Gibson, says it was determined that there is insufficient space provided for occupants of that building.
Storage within the building as designed does not meet all requirements of the respective government offices being accommodated within the complex. In particular, the Ministry of Education, which requires a consolidation of their storage capacity to improve efficiency and security for the distribution of all educational materials from one central location. Furthermore, the construction of this storage facility will in the long term reduce expenditure for each ministry or government department as it relates to reoccurring storage fees.
Now, the proposed storage facility was designed by local architect Aaron Lewis of Lewis Architectural Services and is approximately 12,000 square feet with additional storage for each department.
The proposed storage facility is long overdue, and we are here today to award a contract to a local construction company, Pinnacle Investments Construction Limited, whose principal is Mr. Michael Edwards, in the amount of $1.3 million to complete the construction.
Now, the timeline for the completion of this project is approximately 35 weeks. And prior to this morning's cabinet meetings, the nation's leader traveled to West Grand Bahama for the recommissioning of the West Grand Bahama Fire Station. Our Joan Davis Roll was there.
The first leg of the Prime Minister's visit began here in West Grand Bahama, where the Prime Minister, along with his cabinet, descended in this area to officially open a new fire station. The hierarchy of the Royal Bahamas Police Force and the government giving prominence to the occasion, the ceremony coming as a seat of governance traveled to Grand Bahama to conduct the people's business. The official blessing of the 8 Mile Rock Fire Station, 2 fire trucks, along with the official ribbon-cutting ceremony by oldest resident in that community, Henrietta Frid, signaling a new era for the largest community in the country. In his address, the nation's chief says the re-establishment of this essential service is in keeping with the government's overall thrust nationwide.
Being able to speak of service and the obligation to serve is one thing. Being able to show that you're doing something is quite another important step that you're taking. Grand Bahama and the people of this area who would have their life's earnings challenged by fire, that being able to have effective fire equipment more readily available to address emergencies is a significant step forward for this community.
The nation's leader also addressed the need for the government to provide the additional financial resources required to help sustain these emergency appliances and develop other such facilities.
I think it's important that when you buy equipment that costs as much money as these fire engines, that you have to have 2 approaches to this. One, immediately to find a way of putting up a temporary facility, and then 2, to plan the real facility.
Joan Davis Roll, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Joan. Now, at the hour, the Prime Minister and party are taking part in a groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of a $6 million state-of-the-art fire station on Settlers Way. Now, the new fire station has been many years in the making, as the former fire station was destroyed by the twin storms of 2004 and 2005, and since then, crew fighters have been working from makeshift facilities. The contract for the construction of the new firehouse was awarded to Patrick McDonald Company, and that should be completed within 72 weeks. Stay with us, the Bahamas Tonight. The Northern Edition continues right after this.
Bringing news that matters to you. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition.
Welcome back. Police on Grand Bahama investigating the fatal stabbing of a resident of Heritage Subdivision overnight. Joan Davis-Roll has the latest.
The quiet subdivision of Heritage was awakened to the sounds of emergency medical sirens as a home in that community was the site of a deadly incident. Police officials and investigators were out in full force to uncover what could have happened that would result in the stabbing death of a 47-year-old man who lived at that address. Press Liaison Officer, Assistant Superintendent of Police Teresita Pinder, was on the scene moments after the tragedy unfolded.
At the residence, police found the body of a male with stab wounds to the body. At this time, police are being assisted with their investigation by the female residents of this home.
Now, ZNS News caught up with the Assistant Commissioner of Police on Grand Bahama, Emerick Seymour, in West Grand Bahama Tuesday morning. There he shed more light on this island's latest homicide. Following this deadly encounter, the top police cop on Grand Bahama then sent this appeal.
I've said it over repeatedly and I continue to say it. Our problem in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, a bigger part of our problem in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is unresolved differences. We cannot seem to resolve our differences peaceably or amicably, and so we resort to violence. And we say to people, you know, I often say there are avenues that you can turn to if you have unresolved issues. Talk to pastor, family member, you know, who can help you, who can talk you through these situations. But do not resort to violence, because once you would have done that, of course, once you lose your temper and resort to violence, you know, the end result could be what perhaps transpired last night.
Now, ZNS News has been reliably informed that the person assisting the police with their investigations is a local educator. Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
And police have now released the name of the man who was shot to death in Caraval Beach last Thursday night. He is 46-year-old Edu Phillips of Coral Gardens. According to police reports, officers were called to Caraval Beach shortly after 11 that evening, where they met the victim with multiple gunshot wounds about the body. EMS personnel were called to the scene, and the victim was transported to the Rand Memorial Hospital, where he died a few hours later. Investigations are continuing. Switching gears now, family, friends, and well-wishers gathered at the Grand Lucayan Ballroom to celebrate Father Stephen Grant's 30 years of priesthood. Kimberly Mullings was there.
Rector of St. Jude's Anglican Church, Father Stephen Dallas Grant, was celebrated Friday during a gala banquet with 30 consecutive years of priesthood. Bringing remarks at the banquet on behalf of the Northern Archdeaconry was Archdeacon Harry Bain, who commended Father Grant for his faithful service.
Some 30 years after his ordination, Father Grant remains faithful to the promises made before God and the congregation. He has had 30 years to weigh and ponder all that is required of a priest. And I feel safe in saying that he has no regrets.
Archdeacon Bain says the banquet was merely a small token of appreciation for the work that Father Grant has done as a priest.
How can we say thanks for the things Father Grant has done for so many during his 30 years of service as a priest? Truth be told, the impact he has had on the thousands of lives he has touched is immeasurable.
A Attorney Willie Moss delivered remarks on behalf of Father Grant's family, noting that he personifies servanthood and epitomizes agape love.
Steve is always willing to give a hand to all who are in need. And he does so even if he and his family have to go without. Dwayne Hulse is quoted as saying, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." Thank you, Father Grant, for giving yourself.
The visiting Sensational Youth Choir out of Baltimore, Maryland made a special appearance. Kimberly Mullings, ZNS Network News.
And now it's time to ask the doctor.
Hi, and welcome to Ask the Doctor. I'm Dr. Monique Pratt. Danya Singh from Freeport sent this question. I'm going to the 8th grade when school starts, and I enjoy watching your show. I would like to know about tendinitis. Is it rare, and how do you treat it? Thanks for your question and for supporting the show, Danya. A tendon is a tough, yet flexible band of fibrous tissue that connects your muscles to the bones. When the muscle contracts, the tendon is the structure on the bone that it pulls to cause movements. Depending on the location, tendons can be small like the ones in your hands that cause movements in your fingers, or they can be very large and thick like the ones which work the muscles in the front of your thigh called the quadricep muscle to straighten your legs. Tendinitis occurs when the tendon becomes inflamed, resulting from repetitive actions that put extra pressure on the tendons. Common locations for tendinitis include the wrist, elbow, shoulders, hips, and knees. Tendinitis is not rare and is fairly common. Using a muscle repeatedly, for example, like playing tennis, golf, or pitching, increasing age, and some medical conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis and hypothyroidism all increase your risk for developing tendinitis. Incorrect posture at work or home, or poor stretching or conditioning before exercising and playing sports can also increase a person's risk. The most common symptom of tendinitis is pain. Other symptoms include stiffness, weakness, and swelling over the involved tendon. In order to prevent tendinitis, you should prevent putting pressure or stress on the affected tendon. Rest, placing ice on the affected area for about 20 minutes at a time, using an ACE wrap or bandage, pain medications such as ibuprofen for a few days, and physiotherapy are all suitable treatment options. In severe cases that don't respond to treatment methods I've mentioned, surgery may be required. I'm Dr. Monique Pratt, and this has been Ask the Doctor.
And get ready for the Seagrave Homecoming this Friday. It's KB on Saturday, a Junkanoo rush hour, then on Sunday morning, 3 churches, 1 service, and Sunday evening, a gospel concert featuring Simeon Alton. Stay with us. Ricardo Liveborn has a check on sports when we return.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Photo Specialist. Find quality digital products, phones, and accessories. Photo Specialist, located in Port Lucayo Marketplace.
Girl, how you doing? My deepest sympathy on the death of your husband. When the funeral?
Funeral. Girl Peter dead. And he leave $1 and the insurance lapse. And I ain't waking like that. And you know funeral costs so much these days.
So what happened to the death benefit package I tell you about?
Death benefit package?
Yeah, the one Emporium have. Remember I tell you it's $5 or $6 payment every week? And after a year you qualify for $5,000 or $10,000 funeral. You forget it, girl. Girl, look. The package includes a casket or urn, casket sprays, embalming programs, death announcement, death notice, girl, even down to the buttons, pens, and corsage. And guess what? Anybody can qualify at any age, and you don't need to do no medical. Girl, me and my children are straight. You need to sign up.
Girl, that sounds like something I can afford. What the number is?
352-2270. You get it? 352-2270. Hello? Emporium?
Port Lucaya Marketplace invites you to its first Bahamian Experience Family Fun Day, Monday, August 3rd at 2 p.m. Sign up to win $500 cash in the male and female conch cracking contest.
Roxy Fest kicks into gear August 3rd at the Harrod Primary School grounds from 12 noon until. Lots of activities, fishing tournaments 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., traditional games, quadrille dancing, native dishes on sale, music by the Royal Bahamas Police Force Pop Band, Veronica Bishop, Dyson Nights from Bahaman. That's August 3rd at the Harrod Primary School grounds. Don't miss it.
Everybody, welcome to Sports and Ricardo Lightborn. The Grand Bahama Amateur Baseball Association Senior League Playoffs has actually started. The rookies and regulators crossed the line. Here are some of the highlights. The Grand Bahama Port Authority regulators and the rookies on the diamond in Game 1 of the Senior League Playoffs, and not a good showing for the rookies. Knowles in the box. He gets hit by this pitch, and he's given a free pass. Marcus Holbert is the next batter. Fly ball to right field. It's deep enough to score a run for the regulators. Here is one for the books. A shot to the third baseman. He botched that up and gave up another run on the play. Calvin Fowler got the ball, and the regulators simply up in this one. This is a strikeout. He had 11. The rookie's trying to do everything to get a runner on base. Went to the bunt, but Fowler is a fielding pitcher, and he gets the out. The next batter tried to find a hole on the right side. Mike Sweeting closed it and sitting on a 4-0 advantage. The regulators in control of the game. Routine ball to third. Well, you thought it was routine. The rookies tried to stop the bleeding. This is one way with the strikeout. The rookies had all kinds of issues in the game. Routine fly ball to the right side. The right fielder had some problems holding on to the ball. The GB Port Authority regulators took Game 1 6-0 to score with Calvin Fowler going the distance. Game 2 is scheduled for Tuesday. The winner goes on to face the Tree Root Sharks, who won the pennant with an 8-2 record. Washington Commercial Basketball League on court last night. Container poured down the Parliament's Pistons 46-40. Robert Joseph had a 16-point game, and Miko Green scored 20 points in this one. Memory slipped the Police Enforcers 51-45. Anton Thompson dumped in some 20 points, and Ken Woods with 10 points tonight. Club Fortuna and the GB Gym Rats will go at it. Parliament will take on the Police. It all starts at about 7 o'clock tonight. Should be an awful lot of fun over there at the YMCA Gym. And let's look at your sports.